Things to know about middle child syndrome. Understanding and loving your middle child the right way. Hello, dear parents. Today, we are going to talk about a fascinating topic that sometimes raises a lot of questions. The children born in the middle position within the family. Is it true that middle children are always at a disadvantage? Or does this position hide special strengths that we might not yet know about? Let's not jump to conclusions. Let's explore this more deeply together. Before diving into the details, here's an overview of what we'll explore today. First, middle child syndrome is not a strict medical definition but refers to feelings of being less noticed by children. Second, when parents understand and support their middle child appropriately, they can prevent feelings of neglect or negative thinking associated with their birth order. So, what exactly is middle child syndrome? Many of us have probably heard the term middle child syndrome before. But what does it actually mean? It is not a disease or an official psychological diagnosis. Instead, it's a concept originating from cultural observations and life experiences, describing how middle-born children often feel less important, assigned fewer responsibilities, or positioned lower than their siblings. This feeling sometimes makes them feel forgotten or less special compared to their elder or younger siblings. Hence, the term middle child syndrome was coined. The American Psychological Association acknowledges this as a hypothetical phenomenon, based on the idea that middle children might develop different personality traits. However, they emphasize that we should not confine a child's destiny based solely on birth order. Birth order might slightly influence personality and intelligence, but it is certainly not the ultimate factor in shaping a child's psychology or future. Nevertheless, through movies, stories, and heartfelt personal accounts, many middle children genuinely express that their position comes with certain difficulties and challenges. Remember Jan Brady from the Brady Bunch? She often felt overshadowed by her perfect older sister Marcia and adorable younger sister Cindy. Her muttering Marcia's name and seeking revenge, although played for laughs, partly reflected a real sense of being undervalued as a middle child. What do experts say about middle child syndrome? How do professionals view this issue? Is it true that middle children are always at a disadvantage? While the portrayal of Jan Brady might be exaggerated, most experts agree that the idea of middle child syndrome is often overstated compared to reality. There is little scientific evidence to solidly support many stereotypes about middle children. However, experts do acknowledge that many middle children share common feelings, mainly feeling less noticed simply because of their birth position. Lynn Silva Breen, a marriage and family therapist, explains it simply. Parental and family attention naturally tends to focus more on the firstborn and the youngest child. This can unintentionally cause the middle child to feel somewhat isolated, unimportant, or overlooked by both parents and siblings. Dr. Silva Breen adds that middle children may genuinely feel they receive less love and care than their siblings. However, there's a silver lining that expert Jane Hammerslau points out: the emotional and social development and future success of middle children heavily depends on how they are parented. She states that if parents understand the emotions and thoughts typical of middle children, they can significantly reduce the negative patterns often associated with this position. In other words, with the right understanding and love, middle children won't feel isolated or disadvantaged at all. Does birth order really matter in a child's development? We often hear about birth order, but how important is it in a child's overall development? Dr. Silva Breen suggests that birth order does play a role. She explains that each child's experience with their parents and siblings is unique, creating what psychologists call a family microenvironment, a unique position for each child. These positions, firstborn, middle child, youngest, describe different roles and dynamics within the family. However, It's crucial to remember that a child's upbringing and childhood are shaped by many other factors as well. The specific parent-child relationships, parenting styles, genetics, socio-cultural norms, school and peer influences, family emotional, financial, and cultural dynamics. All of these have profound impacts on a child's development. Jane Hammerslough notes a common pattern in three-child families where parents may unconsciously favor one child, ignore another, or even project family problems onto one, while another child becomes the clown, who lightens the mood but struggles to mature. Yet, she emphasizes that these roles are not set in stone and children can behave very differently based on their birth order and circumstances. Historically, societies placed heavy importance on the firstborn, often the heir, the bearer of family hopes and dreams. The youngest was cherished as the baby of the family. Meanwhile, the middle child often had no grand or clearly defined role. Dr. Silva Breen summarizes that birth order simply helps describe the general differences that arise as parents raise their children over time. It's a tool therapists use to understand family dynamics. But in terms of personal development, birth order is far less influential than genetics, gender, or especially parental emotional health. Hammerslough confirms that while birth order has some effect, it is neither inevitable nor overwhelmingly powerful. The good news is that if parents recognize any biases they or society might hold against the middle child, they can consciously avoid those patterns. The best approach, she advises, is to raise each child as a unique and distinct individual, rather than fitting them into a role based on their birth order. Typical characteristics of middle children. So, what are some common traits we might notice in middle children? Because they grow up alongside siblings and often have to carve out their own identity, middle children may develop some particularly interesting qualities. Not being the expected eldest or the spoiled youngest. Middle children often feel less attention from their family. Ironically, this can motivate them to become more outgoing, socially skilled, and independent earlier than their siblings. Many people observe that middle children are excellent observers, flexible negotiators, and skilled at harmonizing with different age groups and perspectives. They often become good at mediating and finding compromises, having learned to navigate between older and younger siblings. However, these characteristics aren't universal. Every middle child is different. Most middle children feel part of the family, but not necessarily prioritized. This feeling can lead to two common reactions. Some children are content to play a supporting role. Others strive to stand out and gain attention. Sometimes, the drive to be noticed may result in impulsive behavior, emotional distance from the family, or assertive self-expression in social groups. Middle children might also rebel slightly by choosing unique hobbies, habits, or lifestyles. Conversely, some middle children simply seek peaceful integration within the family without worrying too much about their status. Dr. Silva Breen further explains that each successive child is born into a different family environment. Parents are older, more experienced, and often have more resources. At the same time, the child has siblings to coexist and compete with for time, energy, and attention. Thus, middle children are often less concerned with parental rules and expectations, and may be more easygoing and affectionate than the sometimes pressured firstborn. Middle children might also be less driven to achieve traditional academic success but more interested in social activities, sports, and the arts. Additionally, they often show a tendency to move out earlier to seek independence and personal identity. Another reality is that parents may have less one-on-one time for the middle child as family responsibilities increase. This can unconsciously result in more focus on the eldest and youngest children. However, this environment can also help middle children develop stronger diplomatic and social cooperation skills. and foster greater emotional independence. Advice for parents on raising a middle child. At this point, many parents who already have or are expecting a middle child may wonder, what can we do to best support our middle child and help them feel valued? Society often unfairly assigns negative traits to middle children, such as being less intelligent, less connected to the family, lacking leadership, or being rebellious. Whether intentional or not, these stereotypes can create negative impacts and contribute to the so-called middle child syndrome. Jane Hammerslough acknowledges that in some families, middle child syndrome is real, as birth order does influence how children relate to the world. It's natural and understandable for parents to worry about their upcoming or existing middle child feeling disadvantaged. But the good news is, there's a lot parents can do to minimize negative effects. Dr. Silva Breen emphasizes one key thing. The most important thing parents can do for raising healthy children, no matter their birth order, is to treat each child as a unique individual with their own value. Every child, regardless of their position, deserves full and individual attention as they grow up. Of course, parents may feel limited by time, emotional energy, and focus, especially with larger families. Still, making the effort to spend quality, focused time with each child, even if brief, and seeing each as a unique person rather than a role based on birth order, makes a huge difference. Try to help each child develop their own talents and paths without constant comparisons to siblings. Even unintentional comparisons can make a middle child feel inferior to older or younger siblings. Instead, recognize and celebrate their individual efforts and achievements. This approach creates a family dynamic where children, especially middle children, feel truly loved, seen, and understood. It shows them that they are equally valued alongside their siblings. Birth order comes with both advantages and challenges, and it varies from person to person and family to family. This is especially true for middle children, who may face some additional stereotypes or difficulties. However, the middle position can also offer unique strengths and opportunities, just like being the eldest or youngest, if parents approach it with positive thinking and proper support. Cherish the uniqueness of every child.